The question at this hour, will Speaker Nancy Pelosi visit Taiwan? For the first time today, we are getting a look at the agenda for her trip to Asia. Notably absent, though, no mention of Taiwan on her schedule. Reports that Pelosi was planning to visit the island nation 80 miles off the coast of China sparked immediate backlash from the Chinese Communist government and threats of retaliation. Many in Congress say Pelosi should go at this point, that the U.S. should not back down in response to Chinese demands. Joe Khalil joining us live from Capitol Hill now. Joe?
Yeah, Natasha, and so far, Taiwan is not on Speaker Pelosi's schedule, but that's the key phrase, so far, because we know sometimes when it comes to trips like this, especially when you're dealing with matters of national security, trips like that may be done in private. But what we know so far about Speaker Pelosi's planned trip through these 4 Asian countries is that she's going along with a congressional delegation, 5 other members, all Democrats from Congress. We were also hearing that there is at least one member of Congress who's a Republican that was invited but declined to go because of previous engagements. And look, we know they're going to be traveling to at least Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, and Singapore. Pelosi's office made those plans public just this morning. And, while Speaker Pelosi is usually a common foil for Republicans, especially in this hyper-partisan era that we're living in, this trip potentially to Taiwan, there's a rare and strong bipartisan support for the speaker. We've heard a lot of Republicans publicly stating that Pelosi's visit would send a strong message to Beijing. And here's just one example. This is a statement from Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher, who says, in part, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party's propagandists, have gone into overdrive, calling for a military response if Speaker Pelosi visits Taiwan. And it goes on without saying that the speaker's trip should continue as planned. Now, as we speak, China has ordered a series of military exercises this weekend. You're seeing some of it here, and it coincides with a possible Pelosi trip to Taiwan, sending a message to the United States. And China has warned it will retaliate to anything that its government sees as an American provocation. Now, Pelosi's office said that the point of this trip is to advance American values and to strengthen our partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region. Natasha.
All right, Joe Khalil, thank you so much. And joining us now to talk more about Speaker Pelosi's potential trip to Taiwan, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute, Jamil Jaffer. Jamil, it's so great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
Jamil, I did not think that come Sunday we would still be talking about this, that it would still be up in the air about Speaker Pelosi going to Taiwan. At this point, doesn't she have to go?
Well, Natasha, it seems hard to imagine her not going at this point. If she doesn't go, we do run the risk, as the Democratic congressman you all interviewed just said, that it will be viewed as us cowing or caving in to Chinese pressure. So at this point, having said repeatedly that she's going to go, having pushed back on the White House's pushback on her to not go, I think it's very hard for her to back off at this point, Natasha.
Well, and Beijing has said all kinds of things about her potential trip to Taiwan, warning about a, quote, forceful response. What would that realistically look like at this point? And is it still all just bluster?
In a lot of ways, part of it's got to be bluster, right? The idea of the Chinese military shooting down American warplanes flying alongside Nancy Pelosi's, plane, or shooting down her plane, are nearly impossible. Those will obviously be an act of war. I don't think we can expect that. Might they respond militarily against Taiwan, in some sort of limited way? That's certainly a possibility. We've already seen them conducting live fire exercises there, as your correspondent just noted, in the Taiwan Straits just in the last 24, 48 hours. So we know that they're willing to threaten military action. Whether they'll actually take it against Taiwan versus against us, I think that yet remains to be seen.
Well, if she does go, do you have any insight into how well Speaker Pelosi might be protected?
Well, the U.S. government has made clear that they intend to protect her if she, in fact, goes. That's their responsibility. They will do that. Whether they'll have warplanes flying alongside her. She'll obviously have a security detail alongside her, which is why it has been part of her direct agenda as to when she's going to go and when she's going to arrive on the ground. But she'll have a strong set of people around her, or strong protection around her. The question becomes, though, what happens if the Chinese decide to fly a fighter just to come alongside, right? Threaten action, don't actually take action, right? Would the U.S. warplanes be willing to be forced down onto other territory? That's a really hard question, and one that's unknown at this point, but it'd be very provocative. They're saying, of course, it's provocative for us to send Nancy Pelosi there at all.
Well, meanwhile, we are tracking in the background the likelihood of if and when China may decide to invade Taiwan, maybe even on a shorter timeline before the end of Biden's first term. I know we've spoken about this before. How do you think this whole back and forth has affected that likelihood or possibility?
Well, Natasha, it's hard to really know exactly how it's affected it because what the Chinese have perceived, not just during the Biden administration, but also in the prior two administrations, they've perceived America as lacking the willpower to defend Taiwan, right? They're not convinced that we would actually go to war if, in fact, they were to invade Taiwan. And what they watch, as we discussed previously, the withdrawal from Afghanistan and the like, that's only emboldened them. Our limited reaction to Ukraine, that's only emboldened them. So now with Nancy Pelosi going, they can claim, well, the U.S. is taking provocative action. Now is the time for us to get involved and make clear to the world and to the United States that Taiwan is, in fact, part of China. So they may actually view this as an opportunity to take action while still believing that the U.S. won't actually respond if they come across the Taiwan Straits. And, truth be told, it's hard to really assess whether, in fact, we would, because as we saw when President Biden himself said that we would defend Taiwan, the White House staff immediately walked that back within 24 hours of him making that statement.
Jamil Jaffer, hindsight, of course, is 2020. What should we have done from the very beginning of this situation? If we could rewind the back and forth and the endless speculation and the veiled threats, these not so veiled threats, what should we have done?
Well, Natasha, I think it's clear. We should have been clear with China that we believe any invasion of Taiwan, any threats against Taiwan are a threat to American national security and will respond as such. We should have also been clear that American politicians travel wherever they want to go, whenever they want to go, and they don't stand by to threats by the Chinese Communist Party or the like, and that Nancy Pelosi was going to go, that she had the full backing of the White House, and that China was going to threaten her, they'd be threatening the United States. We didn't make any of that clear, unfortunately. We haven't even done that yet to date, and that's the real problem here, is that the Chinese don't know whether we're serious, and when they're not sure, that can result in bad outcomes, even if it's just a strategic miscalculation by them.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.